The ocean is a scary place. Huge depths, powerful waves, and whirlpools are only part of the problem. More importantly, the real monsters lived and still live there, which no one would want to face. Shocking evidence of the Kraken's existence caught on camera, and sea monsters washed ashore, giant creatures and killer dolphins. This is It's Wild, and today I want to show you the most dangerous creatures of the depths in history. Kraken. It's worth starting with the fact that there are different opinions about what the Kraken looks like. Some describe it as a giant squid, while others as an octopus. Let's see what the camera lenses were able to capture. The man in this video is next to the pier. He's filming nature, boats, and water. He's clearly waiting for something or someone. Yeah, he's waiting for that mysterious dweller of the deep from sailor legends. After 10 minutes of walking, he does get lucky. The one he wanted to show the others appears out of the water for a second. The tentacles grab the boat and carry it to the bottom. The man even cries out from what he sees. What do you think of this? And why are the people in the next boat so calm? There are a lot of similar videos on the web. It seems to be a normal footage of a typhoon. But wait a couple seconds, the camera already captures how the giant tentacles appear out of the water. The location is somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. We're not supposed to know the exact location. In the center is a small vessel. It's especially small compared to the creature that's about to appear out of the water. The appearance of the monster is also accompanied by scary noises. Here, something is moving its tentacles and making menacing noises too. What do you think of videos like this? Would you like it to be true? Or is the presence of a fake obvious? Here's again a place which coordinates remain unknown to us. And so, through the fog, we can still see something large emerging from the water a few kilometers from the shore. Of course, it's impossible to say exactly what kind of creature it is, but for all intents and purposes, it may be the very horror of all sailors. But why does it appear only when the horizon is covered with thick fog? A huge squid or the Kraken? For the first time, Kraken was photographed only on September 30th, 2004, off the coast of Japan. It took scientists about 2 years of searching. The pictures were obtained during a trip to a sperm whale hunting ground 970 kilometers south of Tokyo. There, scientists lowered a 900-meter-long cable with shrimp and squid as baits and a flash camera into the depths. After 20 attempts, the giant 8-meter-long creature took the bait and hooked its tentacle. It was in the time it took for it to free itself that the camera took more than 400 pictures. This may not be the Kraken that many people would like to get a glimpse of, but the creature looks like the mysterious monster. American researchers from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration managed to capture a giant squid on video. Yes, it doesn't fit the image of a bloodthirsty monster, but it is what it is. The footage was taken in the Gulf of Mexico at a depth of 759 meters. The elusive inhabitant of the depths, which, by the way, is more than 3.5 meters long, was attracted by a special underwater video camera with bait. It imitates a jellyfish illuminated in the dark. You can see that the squid was interested in the flashing LEDs and swam closer. It carefully examined the bait with its long tentacles, but quickly swam away. Based on the available footage, we can only conclude that the squid is behaving more than cautiously. Perhaps a creature of colossal size also proceeds with the same caution. A few years before these images were taken, the Discovery Channel crew had managed to film a giant squid in its natural habitat in the murky depths of the ocean. In 2015, the squid was a surprise guest at a Japanese port. While the creature was swimming in coastal waters, a brave diver dared to capture it on video camera. According to scientists, the squid was still quite young. Its length was then only 3 meters, 70 centimeters. By the way, the giant squid's another name is Architeudidae, and it can grow up to 20 meters. What do you think of the photos and videos of the Kraken? Are these fakes, species confusion, or a real sea monster caught on camera? Share your thoughts in the comments. And stay tuned to find out where the Kraken and the talk of the Kraken came from in the first place, as well as to discover frightening eyewitness accounts that will impress you. Recognition of the existence of the Kraken. The Kraken has been known since antiquity. It was mentioned by the Roman writer Pliny the Elder. But it was the sailors who certainly didn't doubt that the Kraken existed. Who else but them spent long months and even years on ships, being almost at the edge of the world, where land was only a dream? From generation to generation, from young to old, the chilling stories of the giant monster were passed down the chain. According to the stories, it would wrap its tentacles around a ship and turn it upside down, and then it would end up in the cold depths of the sea. The stories of the Kraken were told in great detail in medieval Scandinavian lore. The Kraken was said to be unbelievably big. Its enormous back was more than a kilometer wide and protruded out of the water, and it could even be confused with an island. And its tentacles were so strong that they could lift even the largest ship and send it into the jaws. Diving to the bottom, the Kraken generated the strongest whirlpool, after which no one had a chance to escape. However, the word Kraken itself did not appear immediately. This formidable sea monster, resembling a cephalopod mollusk, was described in the Norwegian treatise of 1250, King's Mirror, but was not called Kraken. The name was first mentioned in the work of Swedish educator Olaus Magnus under the title A Description of the Northern Peoples. Over time, the story of the Kraken has acquired an ambiguous character. On the one hand, all sailors and fishermen, without exception, were convinced of the existence of the monster. On the other hand, this monster was not caught. Mistrustful scientists had to take the sailors at their word because, by and large, it all resembled legends. Moreover, they were in no hurry to write about the Kraken on the pages of the encyclopedias. But soon the Kraken began to move from legends to the pages of scientific works. The first detailed summary of maritime folklore about the Kraken was compiled by Danish naturalist Erik Ludvigsen Pontoppidan in his book The Natural History of Norway. He wrote that this animal was so large that sailors and cartographers were confused because they mistook it for an island. Moreover, from the words of sailors, he reported that the Kraken takes 3 months to digest the food it swallows. And the famous Swedish zoologist Carl Linnaeus, in the first edition of his book Systema Naturae, in 1735 also mentioned the Kraken. He even classified it as a cephalopod mollusk, along with octopus, squid, and cuttlefish. The Kraken was given the Latin name Microcosmus marinus, but Linnaeus's colleagues only laughed at him, and the Kraken was crossed out from all subsequent editions of the book. In 1802, French zoologist Pierre-Denis de Montfort wrote his book Histoire naturelle générale particulière des mollusques. He suggested distinguishing between 2 species of the mysterious animal. The first was the Kraken octopus, which was thought to have inhabited the northern seas, and the second was the giant octopus, which terrified sailors sailing in the southern hemisphere. Eyewitness accounts. In 1774, an English newspaper published a very curious incident. Captain Robert Jameson told how he encountered with the Kraken. The sailors of his ship confirmed Jameson's words. Interestingly, the captain's testimony about the incident was given at a court hearing under oath. He claimed to have seen a large sea creature, which body length reached several hundred meters. The creature itself, he said, was about 10 meters above the water. The supposed Kraken appeared from the water column and then disappeared again. Finally, diving once again, the monster disappeared completely. This caused a big stir in the water, and the sailors got a good catch of fish. In November 1861, the French corvette Alecton encountered with the Kraken in the Canary Islands. Its brick-red body was about 6 meters long. First, the Alecton captain ordered to sail closer to the mysterious object spotted in the water, and soon he remembered something because rumors about the Kraken had reached him as well. The captain was concerned for the fate of the vessel and ordered the cannons to be fired at the monster, but in vain. Further, one sailor managed to pierce the body of the monster with a harpoon and throw a rope loop. The body of the huge creature was attempted to be lifted aboard. After persistent attempts, the body of the Kraken collapsed back into the water with a deafening splash. But the sailors still received a fragment of its body, weighing about 20 kilograms, as a so-called reward and evidence. Other cases are also known. In 1873, near Newfoundland, fishermen stumbled upon a floating giant carcass that showed no signs of life. One of the brave men poked it with a pole, which, as it turned out, he should not have done. The creature immediately came to life and began waving its long tentacles. The Kraken grabbed the side of the boat and began to dive into the sea. One of the fishermen was not confused. Grabbing an axe, he began to chop the tentacles. Fortunately, the sailors were able to fight back. They got a tentacle as a memento, which served as proof of what had happened. Scientists sometimes joke that the depths of the world ocean are less studied than the dark side of the moon. Well, there's some truth in that joke. Maybe sailors who have spent almost all their life at sea really know much more, and somewhere out there in the depths, a huge and terrible sea monster called the Kraken is lurking. Bull shark. Talking about sharks, we mostly imagine the great white shark because it's the most famous among all sharks. However, in terms of aggression and danger, it doesn't come first. It's preceded by at least a couple of creepy sharks, and the first of them is the bull shark. It's a very intelligent creature that knows whom to attack. The bull shark is considered one of the most aggressive fish in history. These sharks mercilessly attack crustaceans, echinoderms, rays, sea snakes, and even dolphins and sea turtles. The bull shark is a threat to humans and even pets because, unlike its congeners, it can cross river rapids and enter fresh waters. So this shark can appear anywhere, and you never know when an attack will occur. Tiger shark. Few sharks can match the bull shark in terms of aggression, but not the tiger shark. Scientists believe that in tropical waters, the tiger shark is the most dangerous species for humans. This monster with tiger stripes on its sides is absolutely reckless. If the bull shark is still somehow selective in terms of its prey, the tiger shark can eat literally anything. It's not uncommon to find even inedible things like bottles, car tires, cans, and jerry cans in the stomachs of tiger sharks. The tiger shark has no problem attacking any creature nearby. Sometimes they get into fights with other dangerous sea creatures. For example, this footage shows a tiger shark attacking a hammerhead shark, which is no slouch either. And in this footage, the bird was unlucky as it chose the wrong place to come down on water. The tiger shark also attacks people. This diver was lucky to have his harpoon with him, only this prevented the shark from delivering a fatal blow. If you find yourself in water with a tiger shark without a weapon, you hardly have a chance of survival. Tiger sharks and bull sharks are, of course, extremely dangerous, but they still can't be called the most formidable sharks of all time. This title is deservedly held by the notorious megalodon. This is the largest shark in history, and at the same time the most dangerous one. Reaching a length of 60 to 65 feet, Megalodon weighed up to 47 tons. That is, it was many times larger than modern predatory sharks. It also had one of the biggest teeth of all time. They were almost 8 inches long. Their total number reached 276, and they were arranged in 5 rows, placed in 6.5-foot jaws. This is the real weapon of mass destruction. Not surprisingly, with such characteristics, megalodons were not shy about attacking even the largest creatures of their time, including large whales, huge fish, sirens, and pinnipeds. The megalodon bite force was so monstrous that the shark would open the breasts of whales in just one bite. Today's sharks aren't even close to this monster. Nevertheless, Megalodon was not entirely untouchable. Although it was a top predator, it also had to defend itself, because in prehistoric times the world ocean was full of other creepy creatures. Among them was Leviathan milvelli. In fact, it's the ancestor of the modern sperm whales, but it was much bigger, more terrible, aggressive, and dangerous than its descendants. Leviathan milvelli length reached 60 feet, and it weighed 50 tons on average, though scientists believe that some of them reached 120 tons in terms of weight. But that's not all. Remember what I said about megalodon teeth? Well, in comparison with this terrible sperm whale, even the megalodon jaws seemed insignificant. After all, teeth of Leviathan milvelli were almost 16 inches in length. That is, they were twice as long as those of megalodons. As a matter of fact, these two often fought with each other, competing for the food. Leviathan milvelli were engaged in fierce fights with megalodons and often won due to their mass, giant teeth, and incredible aggression. Mosasaurus huffmani. Leviathan milvelli and megalodon were lucky that this sea lizard lived long before them. Otherwise, they'd have had to fight with it as well, and that would have been extremely difficult. Mosasaurs were generally considered to be one of the most dangerous, aggressive, and largest ocean dwellers of all time. But Mosasaurus huffmani is a specific case. This is the largest representative of the entire Mosasaurus family. It reached a length of 55 feet and weighed 15 to 27 tons. Biomechanical reconstructions have shown that during the jerk, Mosasaurus huffmani could move at a speed of more than 12.5 miles per hour. These lizards were also characterized by a rather powerful but narrow skull. Mosasaur's main weapon was massive teeth. Their structure allowed them to crush bones and tear the flesh of their prey. Hardly anyone could stand up to this big guy that held the entire world ocean at bay. By the way, Mosasaurus huffmani became extinct, along with the dinosaurs, about 66 million years ago. Blue-ringed octopus. Did you know that all octopuses are venomous and can produce toxins? But if the venom of some is almost harmless, then the venom of others is a real weapon. In this regard, the leader among congeners is the blue-ringed octopus. This beauty, with an interesting pattern on its body, is one of the most venomous animals in the world. Its venom contains a potent tetrodotoxin, the same venom produced by pufferfish that are used to prepare the fugu dish. The insidiousness of the blue-ringed octopus is that it bites in different ways. It can bite very painfully, or it can bite so that the human didn't even feel it. But in any case, from this point on, the countdown begins. Nausea is quickly followed by respiratory failure, blindness, heart attack, and paralysis. It can take as little as 15 minutes from the time of the bite to death. The bad news is that no antidote has yet been found for the venom of the blue-ringed octopus. Stonefish. It's not very difficult to notice the blue-ringed octopus in the ocean. This mollusk has a distinctive color, but to notice a stonefish will be extremely difficult. That's the danger. The stonefish didn't get its name by accident. It disguises itself under the rocks, burying itself in the seabed, and then waits for prey and sharply attacks it, destroying the stunned fish. The rockfish doesn't attack humans, but that doesn't mean anything yet. The human himself may accidentally step on this fish, mistaking it for a stone, or simply not seeing it. In response, the stonefish raises sharp spines on its back, which poke into the person's limb. The stonefish carries the ominous title of the most venomous fish on the planet, so the consequences won't be long in coming. Even a slight prick can give a careless person a number of terrible symptoms from which they'll be treated for months. If the fish spines go deep under the skin and reach the muscles and vessels, death can occur in a short time. Yes, there are plenty of extremely dangerous creatures in the ocean these days, but we should at least be thankful that there have been creepier creatures in history. Godzilla was one of them. No, I don't mean that Japanese mutant, but the shark that was so named. Its remains were found in 2013. But it wasn't until a year ago that the shark received a description and name of its own. The shark was nicknamed Godzilla for a reason. Its skeleton is the largest fossil of its kind ever found in America. It also owes its nickname to the reptilian nature of the spines on its back. By the way, the scientific name of the species translates as Hoffman's dragon shark. The Godzilla shark inhabited our planet about 300 million years ago. At one time, it scared the inhabitants of the ocean no worse than Godzilla from the movies. Scientists have studied the teeth of the prehistoric monster and concluded that, compared to the teeth of related predatory fish, the Godzilla shark's teeth were more powerful. They were perfect for capturing and crushing prey, so the contemporaries of the shark had a very hard time. Mauisaurus. And finally, another prehistoric creature that could scare anyone. Mauisaurus is something like the Loch Ness Monster because they're similar. Only unlike Nessie, Mauisaurus is 100% real. It lived 83 to 66 million years ago in the area of modern New Zealand, hence its name. The reptile got it from the mythological demigod Maui, in whom the Maori people, the Aborigines of New Zealand, believed. Mauisaurus was one of the largest plesiosaurs of all time, reaching 26 feet in length. Like other plesiosaurs, it had a long, slender body with numerous vertebrae that allowed it to move plastically. Because of this, Mauisaurus was an excellent hunter. It swam at high speed to its prey and tore it apart with its sharp, jagged teeth. By the way, sometimes this plesiosaur could even come ashore for short periods of time. So it didn't let terrestrial creatures relax either. The beach is a great place to relax. You can chill out, take a walk, and spend some quality time there. However, in some cases, the beach can turn into a disturbing place, especially when creepy and incomprehensible creatures are washed up on the beach, from a giant monster with dreadlocks to a New Zealand sea monster. Now I'll show you the biggest creatures found on the beach. Monster with dreadlocks. In 2016 in New Zealand, a strange object was discovered on Muriwai Beach, which frightened the locals. Auckland resident Melissa Doubleday was the first to notice it. There was a motionless creature on the beach covered in something resembling dreadlocks. Melissa photographed the object and posted the pictures on social media. Users put forward many versions, including the fantastic ones. Many saw a sea monster unknown to science, which died during the recent powerful earthquake. Melissa thought she'd found the remains of a whale, but the explanation was very simple. Experts have determined that the mysterious monster was just a tree trunk. It was enveloped by the so-called goose barnacles, acorn shells, distinguished by the presence of a long stalk. They use it to attach to a large object and create a calcareous shell. When a large number of goose barnacles attach, their stalks visibly stretch out and become dreadlock-like. It's noteworthy that in 1968, another incomprehensible object resembling a sea monster appeared in the same place. It was an incomprehensible object that was 29.5 feet long and 8.2 feet high. The local people had never seen anything like it. The people had no idea what they were up against. The creature was covered with tangled hair which reached 4 to 6 inches in length. The object was partially buried in the sand, but because of its mass, it stuck out of the ground like a thumb. A scientist from the University of Auckland made a statement in a local paper, stating that people could dismiss the hypothesis that the creature was a cetacean due to the presence of visible hair. Based on the huge size of the object, he also rejected the assumption that the carcass could belong to a sea cow. The researcher continued his note by saying that he had no idea to which species the found creature belonged, and that it did not resemble any of the animal species known at that time. What could it be? This question's never been answered by scientists. The monster from the Bay of Plenty. In 2013, the internet community and journalists were perplexed by a video of a sea monster on a shore of New Zealand. A half-decomposed 29.5-foot animal with an open mouth and sharp teeth was captured on camera by local resident Elizabeth Ann and posted on YouTube. Can anyone identify it? This strange creature washed up on Pukahina Beach on the shore of the Bay of Plenty in a big storm. It has a huge head and teeth and rudimentary flippers. It looks up to 29.5 feet in length, but perhaps the back of its body and its insides twisted out in some kind of attack, the woman wrote. Locals instantly dubbed the creature a deep sea monster and a sea monster. Some suggested it was a dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus or Mosasaurus, for example. Others speculated that a new Loch Ness monster had arisen from the depths of the sea. However, expert assessment have dispelled the myths. Marine mammal expert Anton van Helden told a local TV channel that it was most likely a common killer whale. Strange and huge creatures have been found not only on the beaches of New Zealand. Stay tuned to see 2 monsters dumped on the shore of England and South Africa, and find out where such monsters come from in the first place and what they really are. Canvey Island Monster. The Canvey Island Monster was the name given to an unusual creature which body washed ashore on Canvey Island, England, in November 1953. A similar body was found there in August 1954. It looked like a toad
with legs but no arms. The monster was described as an unknown creature, 30 inches long, having thick reddish-brown skin with large bulging eyes, a soft head, and gills. The creature had hind limbs with 5 toes and horseshoe-shaped feet that had concave arches, which were assumed to be suitable for upright walking. But there were no forelimbs. The second specimen, discovered in 1954, was described as similar to the first but much larger in size. Being 47 inches long and weighing about 25 pounds, it was quite well preserved. Eyes, nostrils, and teeth were reportedly visible, but no official explanation of the event was given, nor was there any information about what happened to the body next. Some scientists believe that these specimens may have been some kind of anglerfish, which fins were mistaken for legs, while others think that the specimens could be representatives of frogfish, which really move with the help of fins similar to legs, have bulging eyes, and come in various colors, including reddish-brown. Trunco. Trunco is the name of an animal seen near the town of Margate in South Africa in 1924. An article about it under the title "Fish Like a Polar Bear" was published December 27, 1924 in London's Daily Mail. Eyewitnesses observed an unusual, huge animal which looked like a fish covered with fur, fighting with 2 orcas near the shore. It used its tail and jumped out of the water to a height of more than 19.6 feet. The strange creature was later washed ashore off Margate Beach and was described as an animal with snowy white fur, an elephant trunk, and a lobster tail. When it was washed ashore, the animal was measured by beach visitors, and it appeared to be 46 feet long, 10 feet wide, and 4.9 feet high. Its trunk was 4.9 feet long and 14.1 inches in diameter. Its tail was 10 feet long, and its fur was 7.8 inches long. The trunk was reported to grow directly out of the animal's torso, with no head visible on the carcass. For this peculiarity, the animal was named Trunco, from the English word trunk. Such monsters without any signs of normal animals have been found more than once. For centuries, deformed scraps of flesh have intrigued people, and the effect of such news has been reinforced by various fictions and legends of gigantic and terrifying sea monsters told by sailors. For example, in the western part of Tasmania, Australia, in August 1960, a similar unidentified sea beast was discovered. Its size was 19.6 by 18 feet, and its weight was from 11,000 to 22,000 pounds. This object had no eyes, and instead of a mouth, it had soft, tusk-like bulges. The creature had a spine, 6 fleshy tentacles, and stiff white bristles covering its body. In 2010, the long-standing mystery of the faceless monster was solved. With the help of electron microscopy, during the analysis of collagen fibers, it was found out that it was whales. It was during this period when the Tasmanian monster appeared that the term globster was coined. As they appear, globsters look almost nothing like any of the animals which existence has been confirmed. Some globsters reportedly had no bones or other recognizable skeletal structures at all, and were described simply as bags of meat, sometimes covered with something resembling wool. Other globsters had bones, tentacles, or other numerous leaf-like limbs around the edges of the body, flippers, eyes, and other organs, by which it was still impossible to assign the find to any species. Trunco was also nothing more than a globster, that is, a massive, rigid sack of fat and skin containing collagen, which sometimes remains when a blue whale or sperm whale dies, and their skull and skeleton are separated from their skin and sink to the seabed. Impressive size, tactical hunting, advanced intelligence, aggression, and predatory instincts. All this makes orcas 100 times more dangerous than even a big whale. Stay tuned, and I'll show you orcas in action. Let's start with some information. The orca is a species of cetacean in the oceanic dolphin family and the only representative of its genus. It's also the largest member of the family and the only true predator among modern cetaceans. The orca is a real sea giant. These monsters grow up to 33 feet in length and weigh up to 8 tons. Thus, they're comparable in size with the largest sharks and even some whales. Orcas live everywhere and occur both in open waters and near the shore, so it's not difficult to encounter an orca in the ocean. Orcas are very intelligent creatures. The orca's brain is one of the largest of all mammals in the world. According to the latest scientific data, orcas not only have a vocabulary of up to 14,000 sound signals, which allows them to communicate with each other, but also transmit social skills in the group from generation to generation. Moreover, each group of orcas has its own vocal dialect, and orcas themselves live and hunt in groups similar to lion prides. The social structure of such a group is very complex and developed and represents a real family, where the elders teach the youngers how to hunt. Speaking of hunting, that's why we're here today. Orcas are extremely voracious creatures. They need to eat a lot and very often, from 110 to 330 pounds of food per day. That's why orcas are constantly patrolling the waters in search of food. It doesn't matter whom to attack because they're top predators, having no natural enemies. Orcas attack different kinds of whales, from colossal blue and gray whales to dangerous sperm whales and humpback whales. Not surprisingly, orcas are otherwise known as killer whales because they can deal with a huge whale without much effort. But in fact, orcas do not attack whales very often. After all, they're very large and it's not reasonable to hunt them. Nevertheless, history knows several cases of attacks. Blue whales were attacked by killer whales at least 3 times. It was first documented in 2019 when 14 orcas attacked an adult blue whale, bit off a piece of the body, and then began eating its tongue. After the whale body went underwater, 50 more orcas joined the attack. They ate up the remains, which were floating on the surface of the water. The second documented attack occurred a couple of weeks later. The prey was 33 to 40 feet long and was attacked by 25 orcas. This time they repeated their ritual again. An adult female swam into the whale's mouth and bit off its tongue. For 3.5 hours of eating the whale, another 25 individuals joined the pod. Finally, the third whale was eliminated last year. After a long chase, 12 orcas attacked a baby blue whale, and then everything was according to the old scheme – striking, biting off the tongue, and eating together. Orcas similarly hunt on humpback and gray whales. They exhaust their prey by hunting them in huge pods and then attack, bite, and devour the animals within hours. At least the sperm whale can stand up to orcas. After all, this whale is toothed and is a predator. Despite the fact that orcas are its only enemies in the world, sometimes the sperm whale itself can attack killer whales. But usually it's done by orcas themselves. They choose sperm whale babies as their target and brutally massacre them. But it's not always easy. If the baby swims with a group of sperm whales, the adults will protect it. Seeing a pod of bloodthirsty orcas, the sperm whales create a living barrier surrounding the baby. It's impossible for orcas to cope with several sperm whales simultaneously, and they can't get to the baby, so they usually just swim away in search of more suitable prey. A shark can be such a prey. Yes, orcas are one of the few creatures that dare to engage in a fight with formidable sharks for food. The tactics are similar to whale hunting. Orcas track the shark in a pod and then engage in a fight. Orcas can fight a single shark or sometimes a whole group of predators at once. On rare occasions, one orca can stand up to several predatory sharks at once, which looks very epic. By the way, orca hunting on sharks recently revealed an interesting fact. Killer whales are even smarter than we thought. 2 male killer whales that settled near the town of Gunsby in South Africa have learned to hunt great white sharks and eat their livers, which are rich in energy. This has happened before when scientists found preys of killer whales, a variety of large fish. Many of them were missing their livers as well as other organs rich in various nutrients and elements. Such selectivity in the diet cannot be found in every carnivore. In fact, the Gunsby sharks even had to move to other waters to keep the killer whales from gnawing out someone else's liver. Sharks and whales are certainly impressive preys, but orcas don't hunt them so often. Much more often, their prey is fish. But the most favorite food of orcas is seals. Despite the fact that seals are also predators, they can do almost nothing against orcas. Seal hunting can be different. Orcas can attack a seal in water when the pinniped itself is hunting and looking for fish. In such a case, even one orca can deal with the seal. But seals don't always spend time in the water. They often rest on ice floes, and the killer whales know about it very well. Hunting for seals on the ice is the most common. In this case, the orcas form a group and start attacking. Having tracked the seal, they cautiously swim up to the ice floe and then begin to break it from the bottom. At the same time, orcas create waves that rock the ice floe. From this moment on, the seal thinks only about survival. There's no sense in jumping into the water, the seal will be devoured right away. And that's why it has to stay afloat and crawl to the pieces of ice that are not yet broken. Sometimes seals survive, but usually killer whales exhaust them, the pinnipeds fall into the water and become dinner. As if that's not enough, orcas can still play with seals before the meal. To be more exact, they can mock them. Killer whales take a seal and throw it in the air from the surface. At times, the pinnipeds fly up to 33 feet in height. Do you still remember how I said that orcas can be found near the shore? Well, near the shore is literally near the shore. Sometimes orcas hunt seals resting near the water's edge and swiftly attack them, getting out of the water almost completely. In this case, one individual, not a pod of killer whales, is hunting. Before the meal on the shore, the orca can also mock its prey. For example, it can beat the seal on the sand in front of its shocked congeners, or beat it up in shallow water. No wonder that seals are very much afraid of orcas and immediately get away from killer whales, seeing them from a distance. Sometimes seals even jump into the boats of people, just to avoid becoming the prey of bloodthirsty and cruel killer whales. Since I started talking about the shore, let's dwell on this topic a little longer. Not only seals, but also birds can become a prey for orcas on the shore. Some orcas are able to catch them when they fly low over the water, and some of them can be eaten right from the shore. However, in the wild it happens very rare. Much more often, this picture can be seen in aquariums where orcas hunt on the birds sitting on the board. But that's not all. It turns out that orcas even eat moose, but this is rather an exception to the rule. History knows several cases when real remains of moose were found in the stomachs of killer whales. Supposedly, orcas hunted on moose in the same way as on seals, near the shore. But there's another version. Moose can dive to a depth of 13 to even 17 feet and hold their breath for half a minute. Some killer whales can take advantage of this by attacking horned creatures right underwater. In general, orcas sometimes overdo it in their attempts to attack any creature on the shore. There are known cases when killer whales were so carried away by hunting that they were thrown ashore or even on the shoreline rocks. After this, it's impossible to return independently. Orcas can only hope for help from people. Fortunately, caring people often help the giants, pour water on them before the arrival of rescuers, then drag them into the water. What about humans, by the way? We found out that orcas could deal with whales and sharks, mockingly tear a seal to pieces, and even make a moose their prey. Turns out that humans don't stand a chance against orcas, right? Surprisingly, this is not true. For all their top predator status, enormous size, intelligence, and aggression, orcas are safe for humans in the wild. So far, there have been no documented cases of orcas attacking humans in the ocean, let alone fatalities. Orcas are not afraid of humans, but at the same time they're not interested in humans as food. Moreover, we can say that orcas are even friendly towards humans. They allow people to swim near them, and sometimes they join the swim and play with people in the ocean. But it's not all so unambiguous. In the wild, a killer whale will not attack a person, but it will easily attack a ship with a person. For example, last year a pod of 30 orcas attacked a British yacht in the Strait of Gibraltar. They crashed into the hull and bit off part of the steering wheel. Similar things have happened before and later. For example, in June of this year, orcas attacked a yacht off the coast of Portugal, breaking the steering wheel, causing major damage to the ship, and frightening the sailor. But that's not all. In fact, orcas can attack and even kill a human, but it only happens in captivity. It's believed that in captivity these whales go crazy, become fierce from the lack of food and space, and therefore begin to see people as a threat. They can bite a human, can try to wear them out like a seal, can drown them, or just maim them. This usually happens to animal trainers and oceanarium workers. In general, orcas are amazing creatures, but you have to be very careful with them. Don't forget, they are called killers. Many people perceive dolphins as very sweet, kind, and harmless creatures. But this is only partly true. Even sharks, the main predators of the world ocean, are afraid of them. Why? And how does it manifest itself? You're about to find out. Dolphins are large creatures, which have rather sharp teeth. But the teeth of an average dolphin are nothing compared to the terrifying mouth of, for instance, the great white shark. Nevertheless, the great white shark does not like dolphins and even is afraid of them. And the first reason for this is the number. By nature, sharks are loners. They swim in the ocean on their own, rarely forming a group, and even then do so mostly in the mating season. Dolphins, on the contrary, prefer to travel the ocean in groups and also maintain family ties. For instance, if a shark decides to attack a baby dolphin, and at this moment there's parents, they'll certainly severely chase the offender away, even without looking at the fact that it's dangerous and toothy predator. The same applies to weak and old individuals, which dolphins try to keep an eye on. This is the main reason why sharks are afraid of dolphins. Dolphins rarely provoke conflicts, usually it's sharks that start it first, but in this case they take the risk and can get it. Dolphins swoop down on a shark in a huge group, chase it, exhaust it, and then often get rid of it, but it also happens that they just let it go. Agility and speed. In addition to group strength, dolphins have individual qualities that sharks have to put up with. Dolphins are much more agile and faster than sharks. The dolphin's incredible jumps alone are worth a lot. Under favorable conditions, the dolphin can jump to reach 16 feet. Sharks can only dream about it. Also, dolphins are very nimble creatures. They can quickly change the trajectory of movement, cut corners, and just move very fast. Some dolphins can reach speeds of up to 37 miles per hour. And they can swim 109 yards faster than Usain Bolt runs it. Of course, sharks are also not the slowest creatures, but still, on the totality of factors, they can be called clumsy compared to dolphins. This is another reason why the toothed predators are so afraid of these clever mammals. Speaking of intelligence, developed intellect is another reason why dolphins are disliked by sharks. The fact that dolphins are highly evolved creatures is probably known to everyone, and it's really so. Dolphins are able even to answer questions, and that was proved by special equipment. Also, dolphins have their own language of communication, and their everyday vocabulary is almost as good as that of humans. Finally, dolphins learn very well, experience the whole range of emotions, and are even able to recognize themselves in the mirror. That is, they have a sense of self-perception. Dolphins use their sharp mind well in practice. For example, when they fight with a shark, they make competent and precise strokes. Dolphins hit the shark's body with their powerful beaks, do it with a rush, and meaningfully hit the gill slits, the shark's most vulnerable place. It's like the solar plexus in a human. It shows that dolphins know how to inflict damage and fight smart. Such an opponent would be feared not only by sharks, but by anyone in the world ocean. Thus, dolphins deal with sharks that are a danger to themselves or their congeners. But it's also known that dolphins help representatives of other species, including humans. However, everything is not so unambiguous. Many scientists believe that dolphins are far from being as kind and simple as they seem, and that they don't actually save people. In their opinions, dolphins can swim up to people who are drowning or in danger, but only out of curiosity. Dolphins can even let themselves be grabbed with their hands, but this can't be called a real rescue. Dolphins are driven by instinct, and having convinced themselves that the person's inedible, they leave them. In any case, that's not really the point right now. Moreover, there are some videos on the internet in which dolphins rescue people from sharks. In such cases, dolphins act in the same way when they just attack sharks, driving them away from their congeners. Helping a human, dolphins usually surround them and form a protective barrier. After that, they may start to chase the shark away or even hit it. But it also happens that the shark, realizing there's nothing it can do, simply swims away on its own. So maybe dolphins don't save people from drowning, but they can protect them from sharks. Scientists believe that dolphins can be considered one of the most reliable bodyguards in the ocean. So if a person's in danger and there are dolphins nearby, they can't worry. This is confirmed by many real-life examples in which dolphins behaved as real heroes and defenders. It's worth learning about them, too. Stay tuned to see how dolphins save people and animals and prove themselves in all their glory. Scuba divers. One of the dolphin heroics happened relatively recently, at the end of 2018. Australian chef Dennis Tierney was scuba diving off Lord Howe Island in the Tasman Sea, 478 miles from Sydney. The men were immediately approached by friendly dolphins that began circling around the divers in pods. As it turned out, there was a reason for this. In the depths at a relatively safe distance, there were Galapagos sharks. These are active and brave predators which are a great danger to humans. Tierney and his friends' dive might have ended sadly had it not been for the dolphins, which took up the defense. With their presence, they kept the sharks from approaching the humans, and as soon as the predatory fish rose a little higher to the surface, dolphins swam towards them and chased them away. Dangerous swim. In 2014, British swimmer Adam Walker made a 16-mile swim across the Cook Strait in New Zealand. This distance is not an insignificant one, plus it was open water. Anything could go wrong. For example, a shark could have appeared. And so it did. Halfway through, Adam spotted a large great white shark beneath him, clearly intent on attacking. But Walker was lucky. There were ocean protectors nearby. About 10 dolphins instantly surrounded Walker, creating a protective barrier, and began to swim with him without breaking the ring. The dolphins accompanied the athlete for about an hour, preventing the predatory shark from approaching him. Luckily, the protection turned out to be very reliable. The shark never dared to attack Adam while the dolphins were protecting him. The swim ended successfully, and Adam himself promised to raise money for the Dolphin and Whale Conservation Charity. Sounds like a great way to thank the brave dolphins to me. I get the impression that scientists are wrong to say that dolphins don't intentionally save people. Otherwise, why did those 10 mammals take so long to contain the aggression of the shark, protecting Adam Walker? Besides, there are other clear examples. Here's one of them. Here the action takes place already in the oceanarium. One of the animal trainers plays with a seal and then purposely falls into the water and pretends to drown. The girl's floundering, acting out her loss of strength and stuff. Of course, this is a staged trick, but the local dolphin doesn't know that. After a while, it swims up to the girl. The girl grabs hold of it, and it brings her safely to the side. Remember when I said that dolphins rescue not only their own congeners, but other species as well? Well, not only people are meant by them. For example, it's believed that dolphins can rescue dogs. Of course, dogs can swim, but in the open ocean, any dog will drown sooner or later. History knows several cases of dolphins rescuing dogs. It even reflected in the movie Zeus and Roxanne. In addition, dolphins generally establish a good relationship with dogs. They can play with them, socialize, and splash. I guess dolphins understand that dogs are also very intelligent animals with which it's possible to spend some time. Moko and whales. Even large whales are rescued by dolphins. Everyone knows that whales are sometimes washed up on a sandbank from which they cannot get out on their own. There are two options. Either the whale dies in the end, or people drag the giant to the sea with their own forces or with the help of powerful technology. But there's another option. Try to wait for the dolphins. At least one dolphin showed itself in all its glory. His name was Moko. In 2008, 2 dwarf sperm whales washed ashore in New Zealand. People noticed it and began to help them. The whales were returned to the water, but they were lost in space and didn't understand anything. So they kept coming back to the shoal. Locals say that Moko swam to the whales and steered them away from the sandbank. Together, they swam about 650 feet along the shore and then left into the ocean sea through the strait. Moko saved 2 whales from imminent death and became a real hero. He was even included in the list of bravest animals in history. After all you've seen, you begin to think that dolphins can save anyone. But they can also save anything. Well, at least they can certainly save a phone. An unusual episode happened a few years ago in the Bahamas. A girl named Teresa asked a nearby man to hold her phone, but he accidentally dropped it into the sea. The girl was about to say goodbye to her gadget, but luckily, a caring dolphin was swimming nearby that day. The smart creature caught the smartphone and returned it to the surface. It's hard to believe, but this really happened. Piranhas are some of the most famous fish in the world. Their bloodthirstiness is legendary, and they inspire real fear. Further, you'll find out what these monsters are capable of. In general, piranhas are not a species of fish, but a genus that belongs to the Ceridsalmidae family. There are as many as 31 species in the genus. Some piranhas are not very big, only about 4.3 inches in length, but some reach almost 19.6 inches in length. I'm talking about red-eye piranhas. This species of piranha is considered the largest. This jumbo reaches 16.3 inches in length and weighs up to 6.6 pounds. The red-eye piranha lives in the rivers of South America, like its congeners. It's found in the Amazon and Orinoco rivers. This piranha has a diamond-shaped body, hence its name in some languages. The coloration is silvery, and fry are orange or yellowish. The red-eye piranha is an active predator. It feeds on fish, arthropods, as well as small reptiles and mammals that happen to be in the water. It deals with them with particular cruelty. By the way, the red-eye piranha has a more powerful bite than even the notorious T-Rex. Of course, this doesn't mean that this fish would bite the king of dinosaurs itself. It's only a question of bite force relative to body size. And in this respect, the red-eye monster is the champion. However, despite its formidable appearance and powerful jaws, this species of piranha is considered less aggressive than the others. Red-eye piranhas are record breakers among their genus, but history knows of specific individuals that have become record breakers as well. For example, the largest recorded piranha in the world was caught in Lake Columbia in 1994. It was caught by David Stark. The fish weighed just over 6.6 pounds. It's believed that David did not catch a wild individual, but a domestic one. First, he caught the piranha in North America, not South America, and second, the fish was too big. Apparently, the piranha was a pet that had been released into the lake when it got too fat and too big. Unofficially, David's record was broken in 2016 when a piranha of the species Serrasalmus manueli was caught. Otherwise, it's known as Manuel's piranha. In 2016, a capture of one of the piranhas of this species was caught on camera. Some sources claim that certain representatives of the species can grow up to 19.6 inches in length and weigh 12.1 pounds, so the unofficial record is readily believed. In general, the largest piranha ever seen was about 31.4 inches long. It weighed about 4.4 pounds. There's no footage of the catch of this monster, but eyewitnesses assure that the record-breaking piranha was of this size. Surprisingly, similar giants can be found not only in South America, but also abroad, including Kazakhstan and Russia. Apparently, we're talking again about domestic piranhas, which were originally kept in captivity and fattened and then released into water bodies. Because of their natural environment in South America, piranhas do not grow to this size. And yet, piranhas cannot be called quite small fish, especially red-eye piranhas. After all, 15.7 inches and 6.6 pounds are very impressive figures for a fish. However, compared to the record holder among all fish, it's negligible. The largest modern fish is the whale shark. At the same time, this is the largest shark on the planet. Its maximum size reaches at least 41.3 feet, but there are reports of whale sharks around 59 to even 65 feet long. Plus, these giants weigh over 30 tons. No wonder these sharks are called whale sharks. In size, they're not far behind real whales. By the way, they're not only similar to whales in size, but also behavior. Despite their intimidating size, whale sharks are safe for humans. They never attack them and allow divers to swim with them. Like whales, whale sharks feed on plankton, which they filter. Whale sharks are amazing and graceful creatures, but unfortunately, very soon they may be gone. According to some reports, there are only about 1,000 left on the entire planet, and if this is true, whale sharks could become extinct within the next few years. It's distressing that humans are to blame for the gradual extinction of the species. In spite of bans and prohibitions, whale sharks are illegally caught in many countries. In addition, whale sharks are often the victims of currents and shallow waters. They're periodically washed ashore. For example, in 2020, a 24.6-foot whale shark was thrown onto the beach in Bali, Indonesia. Local residents tried to return the fish to its native element, but in vain. As you understand, it's almost impossible to move such a giant fish. The animal was so exhausted that it couldn't swim away from the shore at a sufficient distance, and it was again and again thrown into shallow water. Unfortunately, the shark passed away. Something similar had happened in Pakistan in 2012. Then a 39.3-foot whale shark carcass was washed ashore. The fish was already dead when Pakistani fishermen spotted it and tried to pull it out of the water. It wasn't an easy thing to do. They needed 5 cranes to lift the shark, which weighed about 7 tons. As it turned out later, the Pakistani whale shark was one of the largest ever caught by fishermen. You have to admit that a whale shark washed ashore is quite an unusual find. But even more unusual and stranger animals and things have been found on the beaches and various shores. For example, giant fish, conjoined dolphins, a mystic creature, and even a tooth of a prehistoric monster. Stay tuned to see all these finds and more. Ocean sunfish. Since I'm talking about big fish being washed ashore, let's continue this topic a little bit more. In addition, I'll talk about a very interesting find, the ocean sunfish that was discovered in 2019. Two guys were walking along a beach in South Australia, and when they got to the Murray River, this huge thing caught their attention. At first, they even thought it was a piece of ship, a sculpture, or a fake, but they soon became convinced it wasn't. It was an ocean sunfish, the heaviest of modern bony fish. These creatures can weigh over 2 tons and reach 13 feet in height and 10 feet in length. The fish found near the Murray River was, of course, smaller, but it was still of impressive size. After measurements, it was clear that it was about 8.2 feet long and weighed several hundred pounds. Conjoined dolphins. 5 years earlier, an even more amazing beach find was discovered: conjoined dolphins. What you see in the footage is real, not Photoshop. Surprisingly, such animals do exist, even though they're extremely rare. The Siamese twins shared a tail, 2 bodies about 3 feet long each, and 2 heads. The amazing Siamese twins were found in Turkey. Turkish scientists found that the individual was about 1 year old and suffered from a very rare disease called polycephaly. The defect is caused by incomplete splitting of the fertilized egg. It occurs in various living creatures and leads to the birth of individuals with 2 heads. According to scientists, surviving with such a defect in the ocean is extremely problematic. A huge number of difficulties associated with movement and nutrition most likely caused the death of this unique dolphin. A strange creature. Conjoined dolphins are an unusual creature, but at least it's recognizable. The same cannot be said for the following amazing find. In 2018, sea waves dumped something mysterious onto Wolf Island Beach in the U.S. state of Georgia. A father and son found the creature while fishing and decided to get close enough to catch the find on camera. When the footage was posted on the internet, users began to put forward their own versions. Someone thought that a well-known animal, which had become unrecognizable as a result of decomposition, had been washed ashore. Someone thought that an unknown-to-science species was found on the beach, and someone was sure that it was a hoax. There was another version that the father and son stumbled upon. Altamaha-ha. It's a mythical creature that lives in the waters of Georgia. Interestingly, the footage of the monster washed ashore looks a lot like the way Altamaha-ha is depicted in folklore. Does it mean that the myths about Altamaha-ha have been confirmed, or is it a hoax after all? Write in the comments what you think about this, and we move on to the next incredible findings. Monster's tooth. In 2017, Danny Bland was walking along the North Carolina coastline when he saw something that looked like a snag, but it wasn't a snag. Danny soon understood that he'd found an incredible thing, a tooth of a megalodon shark itself. It's one of the most famous prehistoric monsters, and also the largest shark in history. The teeth of megalodons were very large, as you can now see for yourself. The diagonal length of megalodon teeth was up to 7.4 inches. Danny's find was smaller, but from it, scientists determined that the megalodon that left this tooth in the ocean was up to 59 feet long. It's eerie to think that such creatures swam in the ocean several million years ago. Fortunately, they're long since extinct. But who knows? Maybe a couple of megalodons managed to survive to this day. Strange blocks. The history of some of these strangest beach finds dates back to 2012. Then British residents began to find strange things. Rubber blocks with the word TJIPETIR embossed on them. Later, it turned out that these same blocks were found on the beaches of Spain, France, the Netherlands, Norway, and several other countries. The finds interested people and scientists, but they had no explanation for these blocks. Could it be something alien or very old? We'd still be guessing if it weren't for Tracy Williams. In 2012, this woman found a mystical block not far from her home and decided to find out its origin. After researching the history of shipwrecks, she speculated that the blocks might have been on the Titanic as the ship was carrying bales of rubber. That theory didn't hold up, but Tracy ended up getting help from other people. They told of a rescue campaign that removed cargo from Japanese liner Miyazaki Maru. It sank in the Atlantic Ocean during World War I, carrying blocks from an Indonesian rubber plantation called Tijapiter. It wasn't until 100 years after the shipwreck that it began to wash its cargo to the shores of various countries. That's it for today. What impressed you the most from what you saw? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.